My next guest is an award-winning Cork actor currently lighting up the big screen with a good friend, Cillian Murphy, in one of the most anticipated and critically acclaimed Irish movies of the year. Last night it premiered in London and we're delighted that she's found time to come to see us tonight. Please welcome the star of Small Things Like These, Eileen Walsh. Welcome to the show, Mrs.
Thanks, guys. Nice music.
Nice music. You see what they did there?
Yeah, I like it.
Congrats on this movie. It's amazing. You are amazing in it.
Thank you.
Such a critically acclaimed movie. We're going to be showing a little clip of it in just a sec. But you guys, I believe, know each other from a previous life.
In January, it will be 25 years. We were in a play together 25 years ago.
Yeah.
What was this, Eileen?
Yeah. It was an incredible piece of work. It was terrible.
It was terrible.
We toured Troilus and Cressida, which is one of Shakespeare's lesser-known plays, for a reason, really.
Yeah.
It's very long.
Yeah.
And all the Trojans were played by Irish, and all the Greeks were English.
That's right, yeah.
And we had some phenomenal actors, but it was terrible. We played to very empty houses.
Yeah.
And this was at the Old Vic.
The Old Vic. What was the other one you mentioned?
There was one night, we played the York Playhouse for a week, and there was one performance. It holds 2,500, I think. We played to 25 people.
Wow.
All spread out.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was the comedian in it. It was a hard gig, that one.
Yeah.
Have you met the Olivier nominee, Ardal O'Hanlon here?
Yes, we were talking a while ago. Actually, I haven't met you before, though.
No,
Yeah.
I know, amazing.
I saw Ardal be amazing at the National in Brian Friel's Dancing at Lunasa. So that was incredible. It was very beautiful. Yeah.
You see, lots of other stuff.
You never know who's watching.
You never know who's watching it. Now, Matt, his first role was a milkman. Ger Canning was involved in your break into acting.
Yeah. Actually, to begin properly, I did a podcast called Second Captains, where you talk about your awful sports history. And I was the last guest on for that season, and they said, Ardal is actually currently winning. I thought, great. Surely I could beat Ardal. Come on. I didn't beat Ardal. But my sport connection was Ger Canning was my sister's teacher in secondary school, and he was a brilliant sports commentator on Irish TV. And he introduced Catherine, who's here this evening, with my mother and my other sister, Mary. He introduced Catherine to acting and encouraged her to go to National Youth Theatre. And then Catherine came home one weekend and threw me into acting class.
And this was while you guys were living on a farm in the middle of Cork City.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So we live on this like terrace street, and we grew up in my granddad's house. And he used to have a little bread round and a horse, like when he was younger, and he had pigs in the garden and whatever. And as he got older, he wanted his little farm back. So my parents, being amazing, got him a couple of sheep, and he would go out and he would tend to the sheep every day in his three-piece suit and his little trilby hat.
In the front garden?
We had a really long back garden.
Yeah.
And there was a greenhouse and there was 3 sheep, and then once a year the ram would be brought in and you get little baby sheep, and it was so lovely. And then you get a day off school occasionally for lambing season in the centre of the city. It was amazing.
This is amazing. Anything happens in Cork. I mean, this is like never surprised about stuff in Cork. You're also in this movie with your good fellow Cork actor, Mr. Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
You guys go way back to Disco Pigs, the play.
Yeah, just slightly before Troilus and Cressida. So Cill and I, look at that picture. Look at those ears.
Look at those cuties.
Look at so we met, I was 18, and Enda had written the play and approached me in my first year of Trinity and said, you know, would you come and do this in Cork? And college said, don't do it, don't go back to Cork. And I was like, no, I think it feels like a good thing to do. And it was the most amazing summer of really meeting incredible people, and it was all about the work, and, you know, it just, everything felt easy, you know, and we knew we were brilliant in a very kind of light-hearted way, not, you know. And yeah, so it's a real kind of sustained, beautiful friendship between Enda too.
And you did the play, but then you didn't end up doing the movie.
Yeah, Paddy.
Sorry.
Come on. Like, bring up some successes as well.
Oh, no, I mean...
Oh, my God. No. So, yeah, I did the play, and Kill and I had agreed to do the play together, and that we wouldn't do it without each other. And then it came to a point where we both got offered films, and so it felt like the right time, 2 years later, to leave the play. And then I remember walking down the road one day in Dublin and somebody saying, they've cast the film and you're not in it. And so that was really...
After doing the play?
After doing the play. It was very difficult, but
wow.
a really tough lesson to learn early on, that, you know, just because you kind of carry the baby doesn't mean you get to keep the baby, you know?
Well, the good thing about that is that they can all go and stuff themselves now, because you're going to be in one of the biggest movies of the year.
It's a beautiful
it's
film.
Such
Cillian's
an amazing
it's
piece of work.
Yeah.
Tell us a wee bit about it.
So Claire Keegan is a phenomenal writer, obviously, and I'm sure everybody knows the book itself. It means an awful lot to an awful lot of people. Yeah, Enda Walsh, who wrote Disco Pigs, has done the adaptation. Cillian's wife, Yvonne, approached him, you know, had said, because Kill and Tim Mealance, who's the director, had wanted to work on a project. So, yeah, it kind of came from Yvonne's heart to do this thing. And, yeah, it's been an incredible project to bring the three of us back together. And it made with an awful lot of love, you know. It's a very heavy, dark, beautiful unfolding of a story.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. We've got a little clip here of you doing your stuff with Cillian.
Don't you ever question it? If you want to get on in this life, there are things you have to ignore.
So good. Really, really good. Watching this film, it's when people say stuff is timeless and you normally go, that's a brilliant thing, but this is a movie that you look at it and you think it's the 1950s, and then you hear music from the 1980s.
Yeah, you hear Come On, Eileen.
Yeah. And it's this thing that this is a dark chapter in all of our histories, but it's recent history.
Yeah. And it's also within touching distance, you know. I'm still meeting people that have the need to share their story because they've been affected by the laundries or by being adopted from their mother, or, you know. It's hugely vital to keep talking about it, to put it out there. It's a bit like lancing a boil. You gotta bring it up to get rid of it and to discuss it, and you know, actually to value people and their stories. You know, people really feel the need to be heard, and I think this film really helps that. And
there are so many stories out there around the laundries that are still untold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like 84, 85, which is when our film is set, it was such a tremendous few years of Irish history. You had Anne Lovett, you had the Kerry Babies, you know.
And you played Anne Lovett's mum.
Yes, that's right, with Zara Devlin, who's also in Small Things. And, you know, it's a fascinating couple of years. And there was also a little earthquake registered in Ireland at that time, which really makes sense now, in that, of course there was this unearthing of stuff that had to happen. So yeah, I find it utterly fascinating of a time of a country changing and growing and becoming what it is now, you know.
I mean, you did that documentary about the priesthood, Ardal. I mean, has the influence of the church, it's gone?
Yeah.
Or has it?
Well, I don't really know, but just you just reminded me there, an old friend of mine has been buried tomorrow. He ran away from a mother and baby home when he was 15. He went to London, and he lived there for the rest of his life, destitute most of the time. And he's the loveliest, most innocent person you could ever meet. And during his dying days, his biggest concern, he was convinced that he was going to hell because he was born out of wedlock. So this poor man, like, he escaped the physical infrastructure of the institution, but he never freed himself of the indoctrination.
And I think that's part of what happens in Small Things as well, is that you've got this man who's dealing with the treatment that his mother had. You've got this generational trauma, and he comes to a point in his life where he's having a breakdown because he has to save this young woman and therefore save his mother and therefore save himself. You know, it's that need to fix, make better, to do better, you know.
It's such a powerful movie. As I said, you are amazing in it. If you want to go and catch Eileen in Small Things Like These, it opens in cinemas from the 1st of November. Give it up one more time for Eileen, for Matt and for Ardal.